From the burning deserts of the Sinai Peninsula to the riverbanks of ancient Syria, the world's oldest scriptures describe encounters with mysterious beings. Beings who descend from the sky, radiate blinding light, deliver knowledge, and sometimes even carry human prophets into the heavens. For thousands of years, these entities have been called angels, messengers, or divine beings. But what if the ancient authors were describing something much more physical, much more technological, and far more extraterrestrial? Moses on Mount Sinai, a transformation beyond the human. According to the book of Exodus, Moses disappears atop Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. When he returns holding the 10 Commandments, his followers recoil, not because of the tablets, but because Moses himself has changed. His skin radiates light. His face glows so intensely that he must wear a veil. Some scholars interpret this as a purely spiritual transformation, but others, especially ancient astronaut theorists, suggest something else entirely. Patrick Cook notes that Moses' radiant transformation sounds less like a metaphor and more like the aftereffects of prolonged exposure to a powerful, unknown presence, something capable of altering human physiology. Giorgio Tsoukalos and other researchers argue that if these beings were extraterrestrials rather than supernatural deities, Moses' physical change becomes easier to understand. Exposure to high levels of radiation, energy fields, biotechnology, or otherworldly environments could have caused what the scriptures call a glow. Nick Redfern takes the idea further. If Moses vanished for 40 days, was he taken somewhere? Perhaps not into a mystical realm, but aboard a craft? From this angle, the Exodus event reads like a classic modern abduction story. A bright presence descends. The chosen individual disappears. They return transformed, carrying messages for humanity. Ezekiel's vision, the Bible's most detailed UFO encounter. Travel northeast to ancient Syria, near the Kabur River. Here, in the 6th century BCE, the Hebrew prophet Ezekiel describes a phenomenon that has puzzled scholars for centuries. He witnesses a whirlwind descending from the sky, a swirling brilliance of fire, metallic light, and rotating wheels. Out of this machine-like apparition emerge 4 strange beings with 4 faces, 4 wings, and skin like polished bronze. Ezekiel calls them cherubim. Today, some researchers see instead the language of a man struggling to describe advanced technology. Reverend Barry Downing points out, Ezekiel claims he was lifted into the sky and shown visions of distant places. Could this be an early description of aerial travel? Giorgio Tsoukalos notes that Ezekiel's wheels within wheels align uncannily with many descriptions of UFOs, a central disk surrounded by a rotating outer rim. Nick Redfern suggests the bizarre multi-faced beings may have been humans or humanoids seen through helmets or reflective suits, faces obscured, shapes distorted. What are angels? Messengers, spirits, or extraterrestrials? Across cultures, Greek, Babylonian, Latin, Hebrew, the concept of angels appears again and again. But the word angel itself is misleading. In Hebrew, malach simply means messenger. In Greek, angelos means intermediary. Nowhere in the original language does angel automatically imply a winged spirit. Tsoukalos and others argue that ancient peoples may have used the only vocabulary they had. They saw beings descend from the sky, radiate light, deliver knowledge, and perform feats impossible for humans. They were not from Earth. So they were labeled messengers of God. Author Bill Burns puts it bluntly. By definition, angels are extraterrestrial. We simply didn't have the word for it. The fallen angels. Mutiny, not myth. The Book of Enoch, an ancient text excluded from the Standard Bible but preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls, paints a radical picture of the earliest angels. According to Enoch, the first angels to arrive on Earth were not benevolent. They were rebels, called the Watchers. These beings supposedly came down upon Mount Hermon, interbred with human women, and passed forbidden knowledge to humanity. Some theologians interpret the story as symbolic. Ancient astronaut theorists see something else. A failed extraterrestrial mission. Tsoukalos suggests a mutiny. A group of off-world visitors broke protocol, interacted too closely with early humans, and taught them advanced skills. Astronomy, warfare, metalworking. Von Däniken notes that Enoch never calls these beings gods, only guardians of the sky. A phrase that eerily aligns with extraterrestrial oversight. If the Watchers were real entities, they represent the idea that not all extraterrestrial contacts were peaceful. Some may have pursued their own agendas. Muhammad and Gabriel, 23 years of contact. In 610 AD, in a cave outside Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad receives a revelation from the angel Gabriel, an encounter that marks the birth of Islam. But Gabriel behaves differently here compared to earlier scriptures. He appears again and again for 23 years, guiding Muhammad and transmitting the entire Quran. Ancient astronaut theorists ask, why does this particular angel stay so long? Why does he communicate so continuously and personally? Philip Coppens notes that Gabriel is a recurring figure across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But in Muhammad's case, his presence is unusually active and direct. The most extraordinary event occurs when Gabriel arrives with a flying creature, the Buraq, and transports Muhammad overnight from Mecca to Jerusalem, then through multiple levels of heaven. A journey that, taken literally, defies physics. But if one imagines advanced technology, an aircraft or craft capable of near-instant travel, the story becomes less mystical and more technological. Von Däniken highlights that Muhammad described circling the Earth within minutes. Modern aircraft cannot do this, but advanced extraterrestrial craft theoretically could. Sodom and Gomorrah, a guided evacuation? At the Dead Sea's edge stands a rock formation called Lot's Wife, tied to the biblical destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. In Genesis and the Quran, angels warn Lot of incoming devastation and instruct him to flee immediately. The angel says, "I cannot help you anymore if you stay," suggesting a countdown, an unstoppable event. Ancient astronaut theorists propose that these angels were not simply supernatural beings, but extraterrestrials protecting a specific family from an imminent catastrophe. Guardian angels, spiritual guides or extraterrestrial protectors. More than half of Americans believe in guardian angels. Islam teaches that each person has two, one on each shoulder, recording their deeds. The Book of Tobit introduces Raphael, an angel who not only guides but physically protects a traveler on a dangerous mission. The idea is universal. Someone, or something, watches over humanity. Von Däniken asks whether this belief comes from human imagination or from ancient encounters with protective extraterrestrials who promise to watch over certain individuals. L.A. Marzulli suggests that guardian angels protect humans from something. And in ancient texts, that threat often comes from the fallen angels, possibly a rival faction of extraterrestrials with conflicting goals. A final battle, ancient prophecy, and modern speculation. In Judeo-Christian and Islamic traditions, a final battle between good and evil is prophesied. God and his angels defeating Satan and his forces once and for all. Some researchers interpret this not as a purely spiritual war, but as an echo of an ancient extraterrestrial conflict, one that may not be finished. If ancient angels were visitors from another world, and if the Watchers or fallen angels represented a renegade group, then humanity may have been caught in the middle of a cosmic struggle. And according to certain prophecies, this conflict is destined to return. Were the beings described in the Bible, the Quran, and other ancient texts truly spiritual, supernatural messengers of divine will? Or were they sophisticated extraterrestrial intelligences interacting with early human civilizations? Beings we once called gods, then angels, and today might call extraterrestrials. Enjoyed the journey? Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next episode.